Hey folks, am I audible? Hey folks, am I audible?
ਟੁੱਟੇ ਦਿਲ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਂਭੀ ਫਿਰਦੇ ਕੀ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਮੁਟਿਆਰੇ 12 ਸਾਲ ਬੱਜੀਆਂ ਜਰਾਈਆਂ ਛੱਡੇ ਤਖਤ ਹਜ਼ਾਰੇ
Awesome. How are you guys doing?
ਕੋਈ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਾਂਗ ਕਰੂਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ ਦਿਲ ਨਾਲ ਲਾਰੇ ਨੀ ਤੂੰ ਲਾਉਣ ਵਾਲੀ
Thank you, Avinash. Thanks a lot. Can you listen to the song?
ਮੇਰੇ ਦਿਲ ਨਾਲ ਲਾਰੇ ਨੀ ਤੂੰ ਲਾਉਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਏ ਦਿਲ ਤੇਰਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਟੁੱਟੂਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ ਦਿਲ ਨਾਲ ਲਾਰੇ ਨੀ ਤੂੰ ਲਾਉਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਏ ਦਿਲ ਤੇਰਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਟੁੱਟੂਗਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਚੱਲ ਤਕਰਾ ਬਣਾ ਦੇ
Let's wait for 5 more minutes and we'll start.
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੇਠਾਂ ਸਹਾਰੇ ਲਾ ਦੇ
Hi Saloni.
ਤਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੇਖੇਂਗੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਯਾਦ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਊਗੀ ਤਾਂ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ ਦਿਲ ਨਾਲ ਲਾਰੇ ਨੀ ਤੂੰ ਲਾਉਣ ਵਾਲੀਏ ਦਿਲ ਤੇਰਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਟੁੱਟੂਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ
Hi Narendra, good morning.
ਦਿਲ ਤੇਰਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਟੁੱਟੂਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ ਦਿਲ
Good morning. Good morning, Karthik. Hi, I'm doing okay. Hey Anupam, pleasure to meet you guys. Awesome. Today's session is going to be awesome. Today I'm going to talk about the cohort that I'm going to start. I will spend like 2 minutes over there, and it's going to be an amazing cohort where we'll teach product management from the very basics, very basics, and then start and move towards how to become a great PM and how do you do well in a product career. Thank you, Surya. So the first 30 minutes of this session, we will talk about roadmaps and stuff like that. The last 30 minutes, I'll open it all to you. You guys can effectively talk about anything that you feel like. Hey, Vikas, it's a pleasure talking to you. Oh, thank you, Avinash. Koi baat nahi. Let's hope the live goes well. Amazing. Good morning, Swati. Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. Awesome. So can you see my screen, guys? There is written doing a robust release and post-release management. Yeah. Can you see my screen? Give me a yes in the chat if you can see my screen, guys. Give me a yes. Awesome. So in the previous lecture, we had discussed about what are roadmaps, how roadmaps tie to the goals, to the vision of the company, and eventually from the company, they eventually roll it down to the organization. We talked about prioritization, how things will be prioritized. We talked about what are the different ways we can get a roadmap from, like customer side, like student side, like sales side, like operation side. We talked about all of those things, right? Once a roadmap is made, it comes, even though it looks like a list of features, right? If once a roadmap is made, what typically happens is post the roadmap, we eventually move towards a robust release and a post-release management structure. Does that make sense? रोडमैप के बाद हम रिलीज और पोस्ट रिलीज की तरफ जाते हैं, क्योंकि रोडमैप में बहुत सारे फीचर्स होते हैं. There are bunch of features on the roadmap which eventually people would want to work on and they want to ship it to the customers. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no. Does that make sense? रोडमैप बनाने के बाद क्या होता है? Once you make a roadmap, there are a list of features that you have selected that will be part of your strategy. Now, as part of your strategy, after the roadmap, what will happen is that most of the people will move towards a release and a post-release management kind of a structure. Okay? Now, release management outlines the critical stages of your release, right? It's release basically means एक feature आपने सोचा, you wrote the PRD of the feature, you got the designs of the feature. Now you go to engineering and engineering को जाके बोलते हो कि मुझे ये feature बनाना है. This is the feature I want to make. Now engineering, once it sees the feature, engineering वहां से बोलती है ठीक है, let's plan it out in a process of 5 steps. Number 1, planning. Number 2, building. Number 3, testing. Number 4, deploying. Number 5, reviewing. I'll repeat: plan, build, test, deploy, and review. इन 5 स्टेजेस में आपका रिलीज होता है, और रिलीज कम्स फ्रॉम द वर्ड रिलीज इटसेल्फ, राइट, दैट यू आर रिलीजिंग समथिंग टू द कस्टमर. डज दैट मेक सेंस? यहां पे बातें क्लियर है? गिव मी a yes or no on the chat. गिव मी a yes or no on the chat guys. यहां तक बातें क्लियर है? ठीक है, make sense, make sense. Now what you have to understand is the first part of a release is called planning. I'll just move to the next slide. The planning phase covers the entire piece of the release planning. Like, it comes from taking the requirement to writing a concept note. Concept note hota hai basically a small note that you write for design to eventually design things. एक जैसे ही तुमने requirement ली, you write a concept note. Concept note के अंदर basically you write about things, basically what are the things that designers should take care of so that when they design a particular thing, it makes sense. So you write a concept note. After a concept note, the designers design whatever you have built. मतलब जैसे मान लो तुम्हें एक लॉगिन फ्लो बनाना है, और तुमने लॉगिन फ्लो का एक कॉन्सेप्ट नोट लिखा और वो तुम्हें डिजाइनर्स को दे दिया, और कॉन्सेप्ट नोट में लिखा कि लॉगिन फ्लो अच्छा होना चाहिए, स्मूथ होना चाहिए, इसमें परसेंटेज ऑफ पीपल हु इवेंचुअली ड्रॉप ऑफ शुड कम डाउन फ्रॉम 80% to 60%, whatever, ABCD, whatever it is, right? So you write about the concept note. Concept note के बाद designers will design on the concept note, and then while they are designing, you'll write a PRD. PRD में you will cover all the edge cases that there can be covered. You cover all the edge cases, you cover all the high level solutions, you cover all the metrics, you cover all the designs, all of those things in a PRD, and you give it to engineering. Engineering then eventually reads the PRD, writes their questions, you answer those questions, you do all of those things, and eventually try to cover 4 things in the design, in the plan phase. Number 1, you will get the timelines and the estimates that basically this release is going to go when. Second, आपको डिलीवरी डेट्स मिल जाएंगी. थर्ड, सारी रिक्वायरमेंट्स कवर हो जाएंगी. 4, ओवरऑल स्कोप ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट. सो दिस इज समथिंग दैट यू विल कवर इन द प्लानिंग फेज. डज दैट मेक सेंस? और इसमें टाइम लगता है 1 से 2 हफ्ते इन जनरल. 1 to 2 weeks it takes to do. Give me a yes or no. Is this clear to you guys? कि प्लानिंग फेज में क्या हो रहा है? Amazing. Post the plan phase comes the build phase, right? Build phase के अंदर हम basically क्या करते हैं? When the release is finalized, you can start by designing, by actually engineering काम करना शुरू हो जाएगी build phase के अंदर, right? They will start with, yes, Vikas. So Vikas has asked a question. Requirements as in what features are to be released. Yes, correct. A PM has to jot down, not necessarily all technical aspect. Technical में तुम्हें engineering help कर देगी, but major flows you will have to jot down. ठीक है. तो second phase comes the build phase. In this phase, when all your requirements are finalized, right, engineering will start building it out, and they will write code in order to build that particular. So you will do a stand up. तुमने सुना भी होगा कि engineering stand up में क्या होता है. तो stand up basically happens in the build phase, where the product manager will go every day and ask the engineering that what is right, what is not right, how does it make sense, does it make sense, right? Then and any problems that you're currently facing in your while you are writing code. So all of those things are covered in the build phase. Then the third stage comes, that build phase also covers the testing part of the cycle. Testing part basically means that anything that has to be built, the QA team will start testing it out on a production server, on a stage server. What I mean by stage is a testing server. And they will start looking at all the code, all the features that engineering is making. This is also covered in the build phase. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no. यहां पे ये बात समझ में आ गई है? Give me a yes in the chat. Amazing. थर्ड पार्ट हमारा फिर आता है यूजर एक्सेप्टेंस टेस्टिंग, right? User acceptance testing, also known as UAT, is when the end user actually get the product to use it and get feedback. So UAT के time पे the PM will eventually do the UAT, or there can be UAT done by a beta group of users who eventually will do UAT and try to understand that is there any, like मैं एक छोटा सा example देता हूँ. When Apple has to release any new iOS, they first write a developer beta program in which people can eventually use the version of that iOS, but it's in beta phase, it has bugs. तो UAT में भी हम वही करते हैं. We try to find out the major flows and look at the fact that whether there are bugs, whether we should move this to production or not, and give feedback to basically the development team and the testing team. So user acceptance testing is the most crucial step to release management, because the amount of data collected and fixes required in order to get the build is needed for the official launch. Does that make sense? Awesome. I'll move to the next stage. Then the prepare release. In the prepare release basic phase, the step is that we will eventually do everything and do it in the UAT and remove, मतलब सारा UAT होने के बाद we will eventually do the final quality review by the QA team in the prepare release stage. Final quality last. Okay, so Ashutosh has asked, UAT can be done for a feature or entire product. Actually, it is done for a list of features. If there are a list of features, for every feature you have to do a UAT. It is important. Yeah. So in the prepare release stage, the QA team does regression testing. What I mean by regression testing is that they will test everything other than the current feature and try to understand that the current feature has any impact on the additional features that are built. कि हमने जो बाकी features बनाए हैं वो कहीं current feature से affect तो नहीं हो रहे हैं. That is also something that the QA team does. The QA team will eventually build all the minimum acceptable criterias, business requirements, everything, and eventually they will give a sign off. कि हाँ यार, अब हम basically release कर सकते हैं. This is something that we have to do. Then the next part comes the deploy release part. In the deploy release part, this is when your team's hard work is actually going to the customer. Now, a lot of times we don't deploy 100%. Correct. Avinash, absolutely right. So Avinash is saying regression testing is kind of integration testing. Absolutely. It is like integration testing only. So in the deploy release part, what you eventually do is, it is your hard work that has come out. So it will go to the customers, and the customers will give actual feedback about the product. कि product अच्छा है कि नहीं है, is it right or not right. Now what I want you to also understand is कि हम जब release करते हैं ना, we don't fundamentally release 100% completely to the audience. We use tools so that we can release 10% to the audience first and see what are their feedback on that 10%. Then move it to 20%, then move it to 30%, then move it to 80%, then from 80% move it to 100%. Okay, so Atharv has asked a question. Hi Shravan, do we need edge case visibility in UAT as well? See, Atharv, yes, to a certain level, if it's a primary flow, if it's a major flow, if it's a primary flow, then you have to take care of it in UAT. In UAT, we don't cover edge cases. Edge cases QA team करती है. In UAT, we cover the primary flows which you know that will affect the customer. So if the edge case is in the primary flows, then definitely take their feasibility into account. If the edge case is not in the primary flows, then it's fine. Then QA team will take care of it. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no. Is this clear to you guys? Give me a yes or no. Makes sense. Okay. So in the deploy release stage, what you do is you deploy 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, and you deploy in that way and eventually take the release to 100%. And then you realize, and by that time you've deployed, you've also deployed business metrics like for measuring the solution. Right? So you have put forward metrics and you have put forward tools to measure the success of your solution. So if you want to measure the success of your solution in that aspect, just take that particular particular flows, and try to look at those flows which are extremely important for someone to eventually move to and call the release a successful release. So you use tools like MoEngage, CleverTap, things like that to look at your product core flows, and that is extremely important. That is the deploy release stage. Now the next part would be, for instance, users should be notified of changes with the release and how to operate within the new features. All of those things should be depending on how you are going to release your current features, which eventually go to the customer, right? Finally, during the deployment stage, the development team should meet to access the release performance. You also cover the release performance in the deployment stage. Basically, from an engineering side, that whether the feature is okay, whether the feature is doing fine, whether the feature is meeting all the performance criteria, which are engineering criteria. That is also something that you measure. Does that make sense? Give me yes or no, guys. यहां तक पूरा release वाला process समझ में आ गया? मतलब I think starting from planning to deploying, is this clear to you guys? Can you write a small note on this? Give me a yes or no. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. So now after the release is done, there is something that is called as post-release management, right? After the release is done and it's going to the customers, the QA team goes on the production server and eventually tries to get all the issues that are extremely critical, and they do a production sanity, so that basically production पे कोई issue नहीं है. Production का मतलब होता है final release which goes to the customer. प्रोडक्शन पे कोई इशू नहीं आना चाहिए. तो पोस्ट रिलीज क्यूए टीम वैसा करती है. ठीक है. आफ्टर द रिलीज इज डन इन अ फेज्ड मैनर, राइट? दे ट्राई टू crash bugs and fix them, right? Then basically we keep look at the API calls, production logs. We keep looking at all of those things in order to fundamentally understand that the product is stable, right? And we also look at the business KPIs such as adoption, retention, business metrics, things like that, so that we eventually say that the product is doing how we intended it to work. तो ये भी हम साथ में करते हैं. Starting from QA team does the sanity, the developer team looks at critical tech metrics, the business team looks at business metrics, and we keep looking at in order to finally say that the release has done something good or not. ठीक है. So this is where we'll stop today. Release and post-release management. Now I am opening it as a Q&A. If there are questions, start asking questions, and I will take questions from each one of you and eventually take it towards the end of the session. ठीक है. अच्छा, one thing that I want, can we do one exercise? Can you, all of you guys, write a PRD on any one feature that you feel like is really, really interesting to you, right? And send it and post it on LinkedIn. Post it on LinkedIn, and I will, and tag me. Write one PRD, whatever that PRD is. Make a 300 word document kind of a thing. Does that make sense? Can we do that? क्योंकि मेरे को वैसे भी I am going to launch my cohort very soon, and once I launch my cohort very soon, I am going to take very interesting guys. Can we do this? Give me a yes or no. Hello? Can we do this? I see only Anupam. Atharv has said yes. Okay, fair enough. ठीक है. तो guys, start. Please start asking questions. I'll take your questions one by one. Yeah. So Saloni has asked, what is product sanity? Product sanity basically means how the product is doing on production and how the different features are working currently on product. So that is production sanity. Does sales background give additional benefit to transition to PM? Yes, it does. A lot of times people might say that sales background is has nothing to do with PM. Trust me, talking to the customer gives you a very good picture of what kind of PM you want to become. And sales, definitely sales people make good PMs. So I have a bias towards people who are from sales, but yes, if you are from sales, if you're from marketing, it should give you a good sense of how to become a PM. So So Anur has asked, I am a data engineer now, but my first job after graduating from civil, but I believe I want to move towards product management future. So please suggest how can I plan? So Anur, what you can effectively do is first go through the channel. The channel has like 47, 48 odd very good videos, which will give you a very good sense of it. After going through the channel, start writing on LinkedIn and start doing another thing is that basically make a portfolio of yours. Once you make a portfolio of yours, send that portfolio to any of the recruiters and simultaneously to any of the recruiters, any of the hiring people, and talk to them and make and tell them that why you want to become a PM. There are a bunch of videos on the channel for you to effectively see it. You will be eventually be able to see that channel, and you will be able to make that switch. Awesome. Make a portfolio. Like making a portfolio is very important. So Swati has asked, what is the role of PM in just a second post release, since major chunk is handled by the okay. So Swati is saying if most of the time, most of the things are handled by the QA team, what is the role of PM? See, the role of a PM is to be the guardian of the features that we are trying to push across. If we are putting a, if we are guardian of the features, so that's why the PM has to look from a UAT and a business perspective that whether that feature is really working the way that we want it to work. That is very, see, the PM is not there in the integration or the development part of the product. The PM has to look into two aspects. One, that the product is built the way he or she wanted it to work. That's one. The second part, whether to design the business metrics, which are not designed by the QA team. The QA team doesn't design business metrics. A PM designs business metrics and tries to see that after that particular product is released, whether those business metrics are actually moving up or down. That is extremely important, right? So what I'm trying to put across is that the role of the PM is to be the guardian of the user, that whether that experience is actually true in UAT, and post UAT it might actually happen that I am looking at the business metrics in order to understand whether it makes sense, whether that particular feature is actually helpful to the users or not. Okay. Third part is why UAT is before QA. No. UAT is after QA. I think you misread it. After QA only UAT is. Yeah. So Saloni has asked how to measure product metrics and what is KPI and how to measure it. See, yeah, Saloni. See, a business product metric is anything that is mathematical, that is that is a number that you can measure. KPIs का मतलब होता है key performance indicators. If there are key performance indicators to every metric, to every product that you build, you will be able to measure whether the product is going up or down, whether it's doing good or bad, right? So that is something that you are going to make. Now, a key performance indicator is something that we use that should be a metric. It should be a number, right? Because if it's not a mathematical number, then you will never be able to measure the success of that solution. So your KPI should actually be a number, and a metric can be like, for example, for login flow in Flipkart, the metric can be number of users who land on the login page in the denominator, and then in the numerator, number of people who actually sign up. So you will be able to tell the conversion rate of sign up flow in Flipkart. Yeah. Associate role of product management भैया हो सकता है. Okay. So Atharv asked, to grow as a product manager, is it necessary to be fluent in SQL? See, Atharv, it is not mandatory to do anything in product management. In product management, it's not mandatory to do anything. You look at the problem and you eventually move towards the aspect of the skill that you want to grow. Like for example, if you're designing a login flow or you're designing some sort of a screen for insurance customers, right? So if you don't have a good design sense, you will never be able to make it. You'll never. So logically, you have to grow your design skills, and you go and do a course on design or things like that, right? Similar to that in data also, because product manage see, I always say product managers should not be data driven, they should be data enabled. What I mean by data enabled is that you should be able to use data as a vector in your thinking, not use data as the only source of thinking. So data is a vector. So data is also a vector, design is also a vector, business is also a vector. So if you're capable to get the data yourself, right, that's a very good thing. You don't have to depend on anyone, and you can make your decisions easily, right? So if you're fluent in SQL, because most of the data that we get in consumer PM life is relational data, it's great to be fluent in SQL. But is it a skill that will deter you from becoming a PM? No, not nothing like that. You can learn SQL at any pace, and it is completely okay that you don't know SQL. That's fine. But it's a great thing that if you know. Yeah. Okay. So the next is, can you deliver a session on APM day-to-day? I will do that, yeah, Vikas. I will do that. What is next? So my biggest question, what sort of projects can I do to showcase in my portfolio? Can you show an example now by sharing your screen? See, I have already shared my portfolio with a lot of people. Guys, anyone if of you can effectively give my portfolio to Rahul, right? So you can, I will do a post also. Go to my LinkedIn page and check out. There is a build up product portfolio. You will find my portfolio there. It will have everything. It will have everything. So PRD is for one feature or set of features at a time. See, it really depends, right? A PRD can be for one feature if it's a big feature, and a PRD can be for a set of features if it's a list, if it's grouped features, right? So it can be both. So you have to make your judgment call that if the feature is really critical to the customer, then it should be written independently. But if you feel that the set of features is a group feature that I want to put across, that is also fine. So there is no hard and fast rule. It really depends on the understanding of the PM. So Shweta Bhan has asked, what should be the salary expectation of a person joining as a APM in a pre-series A funded startup? There is not much. See, honestly speaking, in the first 2-3 years of your life, don't look after salary. मैं generally बता रहा हूँ, but I will tell the salary range also. Don't look after salary, because the first 2-3 years of your life are very pivotal for you to understand the kind of people that you want to work with. If you want to work with very smart people, they would be able to build perspectives in your life and build curiosity as a PM, because curiosity is extremely important as a PM. If you are not curious about how different products work, if you're not curious about what value means, then there is no point of becoming a PM. So you have to be fundamentally very curious about how things work. Like, most of my time, 50% of my time, I try to read books on astrology, astronomy, history. Then I try to talk to very various kind of people and try to understand that what they are doing, mathematics, all of those things, right? And that is something that you should be very curious about. So I, like, my second PM job, I was a data product manager, and I learned SQL by scratch. I wrote YAML code, like thousands of lines of code I wrote myself, because I wanted to learn machine learning. करना था, इतनी क्यूरियोसिटी थी कि मैं डेटा साइंटिस्ट के साथ रह रहे के काम कर. लेकिन that is something that you should prioritize, because salary is also like a power law curve. It will be a hockey stick curve. Initially it will go linearly like this, right? Then it will go like zoom, like up, because you will be so great. But initial starting may salary expectation in general 6 to 15 lakhs, you should be able, that's the range. But the most APMs come at 10-11 lakhs easily. That is something in an early stage startup. Yeah, I hope that answered the question, Shweta. Yeah. So Karthik Arora has a how much difficult it is to transition from TPM to PM. See, Karthik, it is not much difficult. See, what you have to do is you have to start working towards your consumer lens. If you start working, spending time towards your consumer lens, you will be able to come up with an answer very soon. Like what does the customer want? The problem with most TPMs happens is you are most TPMs rely a lot on technical architecture, which is great. Technically how sound the system is, which is absolutely great. If you are building a tech system, it is a very good thing, but they forget the consumer lens. So if you have a good design sense, I'll give you a very good tip. Try to develop a very good design sense and not design in terms of UI is great, visual design, which is fine. UX design, if you can build a very good UX design sense by looking at products and trying to make sense of like why Cred did a particular thing, if you can do something like that, right, and try to answer those questions by yourself, you will be able to build a very strong consumer lens, because great design folks eventually understand the business also that well. That happens. That is how, because you know how the user is working. So if you can do bunch of case studies on this particular part and also look at design sense of other products and try to suggest suggestions, you will be able to make that move. Yeah, I hope that is awesome. Okay, the next question is Anur again. Sorry sir, but my concern is how should I plan, like Anur, this question has been answered. मैं इसको end पे लेता हूँ, बाकी questions मुझे मिलते रहे. एक मिनट. ठीक. Anupam Raj, sir, where and how can a value added portfolio that a recruiter, how can, see, I have talked about how to make a product portfolio. It is available on LinkedIn. Please, guys, if there is anyone who can eventually share my portfolio with you guys, I will be able to let me just hold on. I will give you my portfolio. ये लो, this is my portfolio. जिसको भी चाहिए, I have given my product portfolio. ठीक है, cool. ठीक है, I will do that, Narendra. Yeah. Okay. So Sandeep Mishra is asking, what is your advice on low code product management apps? It is good, yaar. Matlab, like, see, if there are low code product management apps, it is a very good thing that you eventually use them for particular things. If they add true value to your life, it's a great thing that you eventually use low code product management apps. They can be very well be used in order to better understand and do your like Jira hai, Trello hai. You can use any of those. Achha. So Gamer Gary has asked difference between PM, growth PM, and growth hacker. See, the difference between a PM, a growth PM, and a growth hacker is primarily threefold, right? A PM looks at things from a very strong consumer lens. A growth PM looks from a consumer and a sales lens. How do we grow? And growth hacker is specifically who works in the marketing phase of the company, which eventually gives ideas on marketing. Basically, this is something that so a PM will not look at from a sales led lens whether we are growing or not. He or she will look from a product metric lens, like Mo Engage, Web Engage, us lens se dikhega. Growth PM will not only look from Mo Engagement, but they will also look at revenue, profit, break even, ये सारी चीजें. And growth hacker will start looking at from a lens of marketing, that basically what creative should we use, how do we make a post viral, Instagram likes, LinkedIn likes, and things like that. Yeah. Okay. So Saloni has asked another question, how to build up team. Guys, usse pehle, please like the video yaar. मैं ये बताना भूल गया. Please like the video as much as possible. Please share it across. आज का मैंने assignment ये दिया है कि write one PRD and share it on LinkedIn. That is extremely important. Write one PRD and share it on LinkedIn. All of you guys who have been in the live. Yeah. Got it. So Saloni has asked how to build up teamwork as an aspiring product who has not done any product internship. I am not 100% clear on the question, Saloni, but yeah, I will try to answer it in a LinkedIn post. Yeah. So Shweta has asked, there are different types of PM jobs coming up on LinkedIn, like growth PM, delivery PM, data PM. How should I decide which is the right path for me? So Shweta, do a very interesting thing. Try to fundamentally understand this particular thing, that what excites you the most. Does design excite you the most? Does data excite you the most? Does business understanding excite you the most? So try to eventually talk to two data PM, two growth PMs, two delivery PMs, and try to reach out to people on LinkedIn and talk to them, talk about their journey. Once you talk about their journey, you will get a very good sense of what you like, what you dislike. And after you do so, and you can also do some projects with saying that I don't need any salary, I can work as a intern. You can do things like that and try to figure out what makes more sense for you, and then you can make a very good plunge. Yeah, but most of the times 100% kabhi nahi hota. It will be 70% of the time that you will find the right answer for you. Yeah. Any more questions, guys? If there are any more questions, yeah. So, Gamer Gary says, I am interested in growth PM. Please share any scenario to get more clarity. Okay. So, for example, a growth PM in Byju's would eventually look for two, three metrics. One, is the revenue of the company growing? Second, are we profitable? What is our operations cost? Third, uh, what are the different aspects that that would be needed to reduce our CAC? CAC is cost of acquisition of a customer. Cost of acquisition. How do we reduce CAC? So these are the things that a growth PM will look for. He or she will not look for whether people are using whether people are using their uh, chat feature in the app. Growth PM will completely start looking at from a very growth centric perspective. Yeah. So that is something that the growth PM will do. And if you want to do that, I suggest you, there is a very good series of growth. There is a very good book called by Sean Ellis. I will just write it down here. Check out his growth series. ठीक है, cool. ठीक है, तो sorry. हाँ, so guys, I think यहाँ पे हम we can close. अब मैं I want to ask you one very interesting question, which was basically कि do you want the next live to happen on Saturday evening? Give me a yes. Give me a yes. Atharv, I am not taking any more questions. I will try to answer it maybe on a LinkedIn post or something like that. What I'm asking is, do you want this live to happen on Saturday evening? Okay, fair, ठीक है, तो Saturday evening ही करेंगे. And secondly, I am launching my cohort very soon. Most probably by October first week, I will start launching my cohort, and if any of you guys want to join, you're most welcome. 50 students I will take, and eventually the goal is to make them very good product managers. Yeah. And one more important part is like the video, please. आज अगर अच्छा लगा, how did you like the session, guys, today? Give me a yes or no. How did you like the session? Whether you liked it, give me a good or bad, whatever. Give me a thumbs up. चलो बढ़िया है. Thank you folks. Chalo, please like the video and share it with your friends. Chalo, bye.